I'm not joking. President Donald Trump on the record saying he's not ruling out another run for the White House, telling NBC News, quote, there are methods by which he could do it. Now, the president is limited to 2 terms by the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, but that has not stopped President Trump from flirting with this idea before.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times now. Headlines from the fake news. Now it will be to serve twice.
Should I run again? You tell me. There's your controversy right there. There's your controversy.
Now, the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, it bears repeating, Jessica, added back in 1951, and it says no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Now, repealing that amendment would require a 2/3 vote in the House and Senate and ratification in 3/4 of states. So that is extremely unlikely. However, Steve Bannon, who is a top outside ally to President Trump, has mused that the president could be eligible because the amendment doesn't specify consecutive terms. We should also note that President Trump is going to be the oldest president ever in office at the end of his 2nd term, topping Joe Biden's record at 82 years and 7 months old in January of 2029. Asked if he even wanted to serve a 3rd term, the president said he likes working. Jessica.
Joining me to discuss.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the president of the United States. Who knows? Maybe the troll in chief when it comes to trolling the liberal media, President Trump, because I think that is what's going on here when it comes to this story about President Trump coming out and saying he is not joking about the possibility of running for a 3rd term. OK, even though he already has 2 terms, he's saying that he is not going to rule out the possibility that he may run again. And of course, the mainstream liberal media, they are freaking out about this, okay? And I want to talk about it, but first I want to go ahead and play this clip of the mainstream liberal media confronting President Trump about his comments because, yeah, they're in full-blown freak-out mode over this. Take a look.
You said you were not joking about a 3rd term, about possibly wanting a 3rd term. Does that mean you're not planning to leave office on January 20th?
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a 3rd term, which is in a way it's 4th term because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged. So it's sort of a 4th term in a certain way. I just don't want the credit for the 2nd because Biden was so bad. He did such a bad job. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm popular, if you wonder the truth. I think I'm popular because we've done a great job. I think we've had the best almost 100 days of any president. And most people are saying that. And it's an honor. We're bringing back our country. We're respected as a country again, and we're strongly respected. And people are amazed. I was with some very important people today, and they said that they've never seen a turnaround of the country as fast as this. Even look at our border. We have nobody coming in. And you can't come into our country, but you have to come in legally. But we have nobody coming in to our country. It's almost shut down. They've never seen anything like this.
The Constitution limits a president to 2 terms. Is it your understanding that they have to be?
I don't even want to talk about it. I'm just telling you, I have had more people say, please run again. They said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that. But I've had a lot of people. Yeah, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think that's an appropriate precedent to set, even if it wasn't you in this position, to see a president serve a 3rd term?
I don't want to talk about a 3rd term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we're doing. Most importantly, they love the job we're doing.
Yeah, I think he's trolling, right? 100% I think he's trolling. And one of the reasons why I think he's trolling is because when he would make the joke before, right, in public, he would acknowledge that the liberal media would react with headlines saying that Trump is not ruling out running for a third term, right? Trump wants to be a dictator, okay? He wants to be Putin. He wants to be Xi, right? This is why he admires dictators. That's what they're going to do, what they're going to say, right? And President Trump knows this, right? He knows that it's so easy to play the mainstream liberal media, that they react to everything that he says. And if he says something extremely outlandish, like, oh, well, I'm thinking about running again, they're going to lose their minds, right? Especially outlets like MSNBC, okay? They are freaking out about this, along with Democrat propagandists are also freaking out about this, saying that, hey, we should take President Trump serious, that he is serious about this. He's possibly serious about it, and they shouldn't take it lightly, which, hey, who knows? Maybe they have a point. Maybe President Trump is serious about it, because some Republicans in Congress have already indicated that they're on board with trying to make it happen the constitutional way, which would be through the amendment process, which in and of itself could be a joke, right? It could be a troll, but I think that we're getting the reaction that everybody wants out of this conversation.
The fact that they say, I can't run again, that's the expression, sir. Then somebody said, I don't think you can. Oh.
And do not delude yourselves into thinking that the spineless band of clingers-on in the Republican Party aren't already on board. Republican Congressman Andy Ogles has taken the cake, just having introduced an amendment to the Constitution to allow Donald Trump to run for a third term in office. The resolution he introduced would amend the 22nd Amendment, which currently limits presidents to 2 terms. And I should note, too, we've seen this coming. Just days after the 2024 election, Congressman Daniel Goldman introduced a resolution to reaffirm Congress's support for the 22nd Amendment, which, again, limits the president to just 2 terms. The resolution was designed to get Republicans on the record in support because it was so utterly predictable that they were going to attempt something like this. And what did Mike Johnson do? He refused to even let it go for a vote. I asked Congressman Daniel Goldman for his response to Andy Ogles' resolution. He said, quote, by now, Donald Trump's pattern is predictable. Joke about something unconstitutional or authoritarian, normalize the joke to allow sycophantic Republicans to adopt the joke into a serious idea until it becomes MAGA orthodoxy. Representative Ogles has followed the playbook perfectly by proposing a constitutional amendment to allow Trump to serve a third term. While I'm grateful that he acknowledges that a third term would require a constitutional amendment, nothing Donald Trump says or does is funny. So let's talk about the legality of what Trump is seeking to do. First off, Ogles' amendment is nakedly unconstitutional. Period. Second, there is not enough support to amend the Constitution, for which you need a 2/3 majority vote in both the House and the Senate, and then ratification by 3/4 of the states. So any legal route to do that is not happening. Period. But third and most importantly, none of that means that Republicans won't still try. Remember, presidential immunity also isn't in the Constitution, and guess what? Republicans, with the help from their judges on the Supreme Court, created it out of whole cloth. Also, barring insurrectionists from running for federal office again is in the Constitution, and yet again, with the help from their judges on the court, they eliminated that provision entirely, meaning we ignore this at our own peril. We give Republicans the benefit of the doubt at our own peril.
Let's get to the other big headline now from that Kristen Welker interview with Donald Trump. When asked about a potential third term, he said, I'm not joking, but he says he's more focused on his current term. Joining me now, Don Calloway, Democratic strategist and founder of the National Voter Protection Action Fund, Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist, and former Republican Congressman David Jolly, both whom are MSNBC political analysts. Quick reaction, guys, to that Trump comment entertaining a third term. You first, David.
Believe him. I think the biggest mistake of the last 8 years is we somehow fail to give credibility to Donald Trump's whims and his impulses, but we know it's true. And January 6th was a perfect example. If he says that he's not ruling it out, he's not ruling it out, and we should consider it a constitutional threat.
Okay. Susan?
He's been pushing the envelope on testing the Constitution, so I expect, that he'll continue to do that, maybe by seeking out a third term. But more importantly, short term, we're not talking about Signal and that scandal if we are talking about Trump's third term.
Don?
Yeah, I think both of them are exactly right. Steve Bannon was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day laying out the very groundling seeds of how it's going to go down. And he said, listen, we are working on it. And by we, I mean the same people who work at the Heritage Foundation and these other well-funded, well-organized think tanks who are laying together the groundwork for things that actually come to pass. And the mainstream media and all of us on the left kind of blow it off as silly or improbable or unconstitutional. That doesn't matter to these folks, and I think you should take a third term or an effort at a third term as a legitimate campaign promise at this point.
Yeah. So MSNBC, they're taking it seriously, right? They are saying, hey, this is a serious threat, and we need to take President Trump at his word that he's not joking. Now, again, I don't know, right? I don't know whether or not he's joking. I lean on the side of he's joking. He's too old, right? I think once it comes time for the election to come around again, I really don't think that President Trump is going to want to continue to be in office, right? I mean, I think it takes a lot of energy to be president of the United States. And I know he likes working, right? I know he likes working, but I really do think that he will probably be too old at that point. But who knows, right? Who knows? There are people out there throwing out ideas about how this could happen. We should all be familiar with the amendment process, the process that it would take to amend the Constitution to allow President Trump to run for another term. I personally don't think that route is very likely due to the fact that Democrats would never, ever, ever get on board with it, right? So it probably won't happen that way, okay? But who knows? Maybe there are some other methods that they can use. So without further ado, let's get into this.
And President Trump said, I have other methods. What could those constitutionally be?
They'd have to be written by the Supreme Court that would redefine the Constitution. As I say, I describe it as a constitutional end run. Jessica, this is not a new debate. It actually goes back to a Law Journal article in 1999 where a bunch of scholars got together and looked at the 22nd Amendment and said, you know, maybe a president cannot be reelected twice, but maybe he can serve twice. How does he serve twice? He becomes a vice presidential candidate. Then the vice president steps aside and makes him the president under the succession statute. This is really obtuse. This is it is pretty good scholarship. It's been debated for a lot of years. Hillary Clinton looked at it when she was nominated, thinking maybe her husband, former president, should be her vice president. But then she realized, well, he's not really eligible to become president under my reading and most readings of the 22nd Amendment.
Yeah, so let's read the 22nd Amendment, right? And you guys tell me what you think about whether or not the method of having President Trump be vice president and then having the president step down would work, right, under the reading of the 22nd Amendment, because that is the loophole that they are referring to. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by the Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative and holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such term. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of several states within 7 years from the date of its submission to the states by the Congress. Yeah, so I guess what the loophole is that technically the 22nd Amendment says that the president, okay, shall not be elected more than twice, right? Technically, if the president is actually the vice president and the president steps aside, then I guess you could say that the then president was not elected, right? And I guess that is the loophole, right? I'm pretty sure that's kind of where this goes. The problem with this is that the 12th Amendment states that anybody that is ineligible to be president of the United States also isn't eligible to be vice president. So I guess like it's a loophole, but it's kind of not a loophole because the loophole is plugged by another amendment in the Constitution, right? So this is my layman's understanding of the situation. Regardless, I think that it is funny that President Trump is trolling the media with another term, right? Liberals are probably freaking out about the possibility of President Trump serving another term. I think it's pretty hilarious, to be honest with you. I just don't know exactly what loopholes they're going to use, right, in order to have President Trump stay in office if they actually were to try to do that. That's why I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think there's a realistic possibility. And also on top of that, I mean, more so than anything, what will determine whether or not President Trump could even think about running again is his performance, right? If his performance is not good in his term, which I have no reason to believe that his performance won't be good. I'm just saying that if it just so happens that he lays an egg, okay, which is what Democrats are hoping for, the people are not going to allow him to run for another term, right? He's not going to win, okay, if his presidency is not good. So he's right in the sense that it is too early to be talking about a third term, right? He still has to finish making America great again, right? You got to continue to do that. You got to execute on that. And, if President Trump is extremely popular come time for another election, who knows, right? Who knows what may happen? I'm just saying, as of right now, it's best to focus on, fulfilling promises and making this country great again.
So she precluded that. A lot of people thought Obama should go for another term. He didn't. He read the Constitution and said, no, I'm not for end runs.
Mm. How much faith do you have in our democratic system to prevent that from happening?
Well, I think the courts have held because they're being tested right now as they never have before. There's over 100 cases that really implicate the Constitution and the system and our democracy, if you will, where Trump and Elon Musk, in some instances, are just running roughshod over the laws and the statutes that exist on how to hire people, fire people, who you can do with a statute, how do you allocate money that is appropriated by Congress. This is just being ignored, but the courts are really making the issue of the president must comply with the law. Now the question will be, will he comply with the law?
Certainly. And I'm curious, too, just from your perspective, even having this conversation that you and I are having right now, having a sitting president that's flirting, let's call it, with this idea, what does that do to American democracy?
These people are so dramatic, bro. What does it do to American democracy to have a president joke about running again? Right? So terrible. Again, hilarious. The point is to get these type of reactions. It's so easy to play these people. It really is.
It's not healthy. I can't tell you how depressed I have been with some of his decisions, what he's doing with tariffs. He really doesn't have unlimited tariff power. That belongs to the Congress. You wouldn't know that given the current debate. So he's beating up on the economy. He's beating up on democracy. He's beating up on federal employees. Last week, he filed a federal action in Waco, Texas, where there's only one judge who is pretty predictable on how he comes out on things. He's very conservative, to attack federal unions, federal employee unions. So these are very troubling times for me anyway, and for anybody who loves our democracy.
Yeah, again, overdramatic, right? Overdramatic. Who knows, right? I think what President Trump actually means is that hopefully his agenda, right, will be on the ballot. The continuation of his agenda will be on the ballot in 2028, whether that be J.D. Vance. Who knows? There were rumors about Trump Jr. running. Now, Trump Jr. has denied those rumors, okay, but the rumors were there, even though, again, he did deny them. He said, no, he's not running, and that he put his support behind J.D. Vance for VP for a reason. Maybe that's it, right? Maybe that is what President Trump is talking about. We don't know. Again, it's really too early to be having this conversation. That's why I think that President Trump is trolling more than anything, because ultimately the media, it's easy to get these people to jump, right? It's very easy to get them to jump, okay? You just say something and then they just do exactly what you want, right? They freak out and they start having this conversation about whether or not President Trump is actually going to do it. And it's just the easy way to influence the news cycle, right? Just to get the media to talk about whatever you want them to talk about, having them fake outraging, looking silly, right? And losing more credibility. That's really what it is, more so than anything. But like I said, we'll see. I think before we could even think about having this conversation, President Trump, again, he's going to have to execute on his promises. He's going to have to do the things that he says he's going to do, especially when it comes to the economy. The border, he's been doing great. But when it comes to the economy, we got to see how things work out. And if the economy is booming, right, if the economy is booming come 2026, 2027, 2028, who knows, right? Who knows? But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.